Carl Gilmare was not an obscure figure working quietly in the background of science. He was a respected Caltech astrophysicist at the Infrared Processing and Analysis Center, a researcher whose career was built on mapping the hidden architecture of the Milky Way and studying the unseen forces that shape our universe. He specialized in galactic astronomy, dark matter, stellar streams, galactic structure, and the analysis of distant exoplanets. He led projects connected to the Hubble and Spitzer space telescopes, discovered multiple stellar streams winding through the halo of our galaxy, and earned a NASA Exceptional Scientific Achievement Medal for his contributions. In the world of astrophysics, he was considered one of the individuals helping humanity decode the invisible framework of space itself. When someone with that level of expertise suddenly passes under violent circumstances, and the public headline simply reads, "Investigation ongoing," it is almost inevitable that people begin to ask questions. That is exactly what happened on the 16th of February, 2026, when news broke that Carl Gilmare, 67 years old, had been found on his porch in Llano, California, having suffered a fatal injury to the torso. Authorities ruled the case a homicide, but no clear motive or suspects were immediately named. Early reports suggested a possible carjacking angle, yet as updates rolled out from local outlets such as KTLA, that explanation seemed to fade into the background without firm clarification. Online, speculation ignited almost instantly. It was not only the circumstances that drew attention, but also the timing. Just 2 months earlier, on the 15th of December, 2025, another high-level scientist had lost his life. Nuno Loureiro, 47 years old, a plasma physicist at MIT and head of the Plasma Science and Fusion Center, suffered a fatal shooting at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. He passed the following day. The individual identified as responsible, a former classmate from Portugal, was later connected to a violent episode at Brown University 2 days prior, where 2 students lost their lives and several others were injured before the individual took his own life. Authorities framed that event as personal in nature, but many online observers were not satisfied with that explanation. When 2 prominent scientists working in frontier fields depart under violent circumstances within weeks of each other, and both fields involve potentially transformative technologies, some believe coincidence becomes harder to accept at face value. Carl Gilmare's work touched on subjects that naturally stir public imagination. Through projects like the Near-Earth Object Wide-Field Infrared Survey Explorer and Spitzer, he was involved in identifying and cataloguing near-Earth objects. Asteroid tracking is not science fiction. It is a very real planetary defense effort. Thousands of objects pass near Earth's orbit, and researchers monitor them carefully. To many online commentators, this raises an unsettling possibility. What if a scientist discovered something concerning? What if an incoming object, or a pattern in orbital mechanics, had implications that governments preferred to manage quietly? Rumors about elite bunkers, classified impact assessments, and hidden survival contingencies have circulated for years. In that context, some have wondered whether Gilmare's expertise placed him in possession of sensitive information. Beyond asteroid detection, Gilmare also contributed to exoplanet spectroscopy. This field involves analyzing the atmospheres of distant worlds to detect water vapor, methane, oxygen, and other chemical markers. Some of those markers could point toward biological activity. If conclusive evidence of life beyond Earth were ever identified, it would not only reshape science, but potentially religion, economics, and geopolitics. Online communities have speculated that confirmation of extraterrestrial biosignatures might be managed carefully to avoid destabilization. In that narrative, scientists working closest to such discoveries are seen as holding keys to information far larger than themselves. Then there is dark matter. Gilmare's mapping of stellar streams helped trace the gravitational influence of invisible mass throughout the galaxy. Dark matter remains one of physics' greatest mysteries. Some researchers suggest that breakthroughs in understanding dark matter could overlap with classified propulsion systems or gravity manipulation research. While mainstream science does not endorse such claims, the idea persists in online circles that hidden physics programs might operate parallel to academic research. When observers compare this to Nuno Loureiro's work in plasma physics and fusion energy, the pattern deepens in their view. Fusion promises nearly limitless clean energy. If fully realized, It could disrupt global energy markets and weaken industries built around fossil fuels. Loureiro became director of his center in 2024, just as optimism around fusion milestones intensified. To some, that timing feels significant. They argue that energy independence and cosmic defense technologies both intersect with powerful economic interests. The theory circulating online is not subtle. It suggests that when breakthroughs loom in areas capable of reshaping global power structures, resistance can emerge from unseen quarters. In that interpretation, violent incidents are not random, but orchestrated distractions, wrapped in personal motives to obscure broader agendas. The delivery disguise allegedly used in Loureiro's case has been cited as an element that feels theatrical to some commentators, reinforcing suspicion. Historical parallels are frequently invoked. Online researchers point to past eras when scientists in controversial or high-stakes fields also passed unexpectedly. Whether related to advanced propulsion, unidentified aerial phenomena research, or alternative energy concepts, these past events are woven into a broader narrative of suppression. In that worldview, the public face of science reveals only part of the story. It is important to note that these theories thrive in digital spaces where pattern recognition can be easily researched. The absence of immediate answers fuels momentum. When investigations remain open, gaps in information become ground for interpretation. For many people following these cases, it is not necessarily about proving a grand plot, but about acknowledging that powerful technologies and discoveries carry consequences. Carl Gilmare's life work undeniably dealt with cosmic hazards, planetary systems, and invisible forces shaping galaxies. He was not an ordinary academic, but a scientist whose research operated at the intersection of planetary defense and cosmic discovery. When someone operating at that level departs suddenly and violently, it unsettles people. The same can be said for a fusion expert leading efforts to harness the power of stars on Earth. Online discussions continue to tie these events together, suggesting that we may be living in a moment when transformative scientific knowledge collides with entrenched systems of control. Whether these theories hold substance or simply reflect human suspicion in the face of tragedy, they demonstrate one clear truth. When frontier science meets unanswered questions, mystery follows. Over the years, a growing number of former aerospace employees, contractors, and self-identified whistleblowers have stepped forward with accounts that challenge the public's understanding of what space agencies have truly encountered beyond Earth. Among the most discussed claims are those suggesting that unidentified craft and artificial structures have been photographed during space missions, only for the most revealing evidence to be quietly altered, removed, or concealed before reaching public archives. These accounts, shared across interviews, documentaries, and independent research circles, have fueled a long-standing belief that humanity has already glimpsed signs of non-human engineering in space, yet the full reality remains shielded behind layers of classification. One of the most widely cited voices in these discussions is Donna Hare, a former NASA contractor who spoke openly in recorded interviews about her experiences working with photographic processing. According to Hare, her role placed her in proximity to sensitive image handling operations, where she claimed to witness photographs being modified prior to public release. She described what she said was a specialized team tasked specifically with removing unexplained aerial objects from mission imagery. In her recollections, these objects appeared structured, metallic, and maneuverable, differing significantly from known satellites or debris. Hare maintained that the purpose of these alterations was to maintain secrecy and prevent widespread public reaction to discoveries deemed too disruptive. Her statements resonated strongly within research communities already examining anomalies in archived space imagery. Over time, additional insiders came forward with parallel accounts. Some described reviewing footage that appeared to show unidentified craft pacing spacecraft during orbital operations. Others recounted briefings where unusual objects were acknowledged internally, yet never publicly addressed. In several testimonies, mission footage that captured anomalous activity was reportedly classified, restricted, or removed from circulation entirely. While official agencies have never confirmed these accounts, the consistency in narrative details has kept the subject alive in public discourse. The discussion intensified further when certain space images surfaced online displaying unusual blacked-out or obscured regions. In these photographs, large sections appeared deliberately concealed, drawing immediate attention from independent analysts. For many observers, the redactions felt intentional rather than incidental. The missing visual data seemed too precisely placed, covering areas where structural anomalies or unidentified forms might have been visible. These images quickly circulated across forums and research platforms, with many interpreting them as modern examples of the very practices former insiders had described decades earlier. If such alterations were ever proven authentic, the implications would be profound. Artificial structures on the moon or other celestial bodies would raise questions extending far beyond scientific curiosity. Who built them, and when? Were they remnants of an ancient off-world civilization, or installations established by an advanced intelligence operating within our solar system? Some theorists have proposed that these structures could represent long-abandoned outposts, observation platforms, or navigational markers left behind by visitors whose presence predates human technological development. Other interpretations move in a different direction, suggesting that some installations might be linked to classified human programs. According to this view, advanced aerospace initiatives operating under extreme secrecy could have established experimental facilities beyond Earth, hidden from public awareness. While this perspective remains speculative, it reflects the broader perception that space exploration has always carried a classified dimension alongside its public scientific face. Historical mission archives, particularly those from the lunar orbiter programs of the 1960s and 1970s, frequently appear in these discussions. These missions, tasked with mapping the lunar surface in preparation for crewed landings, produced vast photographic records. Within these archives, independent researchers have identified formations they believe resemble towers, domes, rectilinear platforms, and linear pathways. Some images appear to show geometric symmetry unusual for natural geology, prompting ongoing debate about their origin. Mainstream scientific analysis has typically attributed such formations to lighting angles, shadow distortion, compression artifacts, or natural geological uplift. However, alternative researchers argue that the repetition of structured shapes across multiple mission datasets warrants deeper investigation. The secrecy historically surrounding space exploration has only amplified public suspicion. From the earliest days of orbital reconnaissance, governments treated extraterrestrial imaging as strategically sensitive.